First things first, what's nostalgia YouTube? If you've been on YouTube for as long as I have, which would mean you've been on for around since 2006 or 2007, then you're probably familiar with the angry video game nerd. And there was also the huge Let's Play scene that began in around 2007 to 2008, paving the way for some of the personalities I watched, like Nintendo Capri Sun, Madman Media, Josh Jepson, and more. These are all YouTubers that, at the time I was watching them, didn't really play the hot new releases. Their focus was mostly on classic games from the mid-90s to the early 2000s. It wasn't about capitalizing on new trends or establishing themselves as the go-to YouTuber for a certain game or genre. It was about celebrating the games we already loved. And for the most part, the games that were being celebrated were Nintendo games. You also had channels like Screw Attack and Game Trailers who cultivated conversations around modern gaming, sure, but also had a huge focus on reminiscing about games from the 80s and 90s. Top 10s, retrospectives, professional grade content centered around classic franchises like Mega Man and Final Fantasy. The spirit of these two channels continue on with Game Attack and Easy Allies respectively, but they've definitely adapted to more modern games coverage, with Game Attack having a strong Twitch presence and Easy Allies focusing more on podcasting and reviews than retrospectives and top 10s. They still have top 10s, just for the record. That's what I mean when I refer to nostalgia YouTube. The focus wasn't on the new, it was mostly on Nintendo games from the Nintendo 64 and early GameCube era, but with some more professional grade content focusing on the 80s and 90s. And time-wise, it lines up. The younger generation were on YouTube showing off the games they grew up with, while the older generation were utilizing the traditional approach to talk about the games they grew up with. And I say older, but I really just mean people who grew up in the 80s and early 90s, as opposed to people who grew up in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. So, the main question I propose: does nostalgia YouTube still have a place in 2019? Yes. Hold on. The thing is, a lot of the people from the new generation who are breaking into the YouTube scene today, while we did grow up playing games like Crash Bandicoot, Super Smash Bros. Melee, or Luigi's Mansion, we didn't fully understand how impactful video games were until the PS3 or 360 era. So while we're endlessly nostalgic for the PS1 and PS2 eras, that 2006 to 2012 era is the stuff we get really, really passionate about. You know what I'm talking about. Modern Warfare 2, Far Cry 3, Bad Company 2, Halo Reach, Assassin's Creed 2, Uncharted 2, Fallout New Vegas, you know, the games I put all over my top 100 and have even covered individually in the past. The thing is, while I love me a good meaty top 10 video or retrospective, they've been overshadowed in the modern era of YouTube and Twitch by podcasts, video essays, and live streams. Meanwhile, Let's Play channels, like a couple I mentioned before, seem to be sort of coasting in the background. Not dying per se, but not gathering the widespread attention that their contemporaries are getting. And there seems to be a higher focus on newer releases, or modified versions of older games. I think what people crave now isn't just a divulgence of nostalgic memories of their favorite games. They want critical analysis. They want to understand why they like their favorite games. Maybe it's just a form of confirmation bias. That is, the tendency to deliberately seek out content that confirms what the person already believes about a certain game. Perhaps it's not that we seek to understand why we love certain games, it's just that we want something we can point to that eloquently explains why a certain game is good. A less cynical take would be that people just want a fresh perspective. They already have the game they like and they know why they like it, but want a new level of understanding or appreciation for their favorite games. I even surprised myself with my analysis of Persona 5 from a while back. It wasn't until I read the art book that came with the collector's edition that I realized how crucial its red and black color scheme was. It was a discovery that suddenly made so many pieces of Persona 5's design fall into place in my mind. That was an idea I really wanted to share with people, and I recommend you check that out if you're interested. Shameless self-promotion aside, this is the kind of stuff I think people want. At least, the people who would rather envelop themselves in the positive part of gaming rather than the negative part. Sometimes I look at YouTube thumbnails and titles and wonder what I'm doing wrong, why these people have so many views and others don't. And this isn't me throwing shade at certain YouTubers or saying woe is me, that isn't what I want to do. But I think by catering to the negative side of gaming, creators are fostering that stereotypically toxic subsection of gaming that is ultimately damaging to both their own reputation as well as the reputation of the gaming community as a whole. I'm getting off track, but that point about negativity is still relevant to the overall topic at hand. As time moves on, things change. And as nostalgia YouTube ended with the rise of Twitch and the fall of channels like Machinima, Game Trailers, and the old Screw Attack, its gap was filled by hate-mongering channels that don't focus on appreciation for the art form or an understanding of the brutal development cycles of every AAA game ever, but would rather whine about literally every single little thing Epic Games does. But before I derail this video into a conversation about why people are more upset about downloading a free game launcher than they are about the corporate mistreatment of game developers, let's get back on track. Nostalgia YouTube's golden age is over. However, many, myself included, have grown tired of the constant negativity and toxicity found online. And it's not like negativity is never warranted, but when 95% of your channel is focused on complaining, you have to ask yourself, is this really what I want to identify with? Is this really the kind of person I want to be? And that's where the new Nostalgia YouTube comes in. Rather than using nostalgia as a standard by which to compare anything new, many people aren't dissatisfied with the state of modern gaming. They just like to bathe in good memories for a change and remember why they play games in the first place. Or they've been there and done that when it comes to their favorite games and want to see them in a new light. So to conclude this long answer to this question, Nostalgia YouTube is still around and more important than ever. It's like visiting your parents or other loved ones after a long stint away from home. You have your normal working life, sure, but sometimes you just need to come back home for a while and remember your roots. And like a home you've been away from for a while, things might seem different. Maybe there's some new furniture, or maybe it's a completely different house. Instead of a let's play, it's a podcast. Instead of a retrospective, it's a video essay. Either way, the heart is still the same. Plus, just like classic games, you can always go back to the classic videos too.
Now you're playing with power. Now you're playing with fucking shit. You're better off fucking shit than fucking with this fucked up shit. Fuck this shit. You don't know shit about how fucking shitty this fucking shit is. It's so bad it sucks. It's so fucking suck it fucks.